The Cowboy Bebop.
Certified banger.
There it is right there. And it is I am Sam. I've got with me today, we've got David. David,
The
of
dude.
course, is our anime guru. He's the person that, gives us our regular assignments and tells us what we need to be watching if we're not watching it. And, always gives me great advice when it comes to what's next. I just finished this. That was good. What do I need to watch next?
Always judging silently in the corner.
Always judging. Cowboy Bebop was one of the intro animes. 1998. The original Cowboy Bebop show has a 100 average tomato meter, a 96 average audience score. Premiered
Damn it.
October 23rd, 1998.
Damn near flawless anime.
Cowboy Bebop is one of the few animes that is a gateway anime. Most people who start their anime journey, this is one that is usually recommended to people. People are like, oh, I was thinking about watching anime. What do you suggest? This is usually like a top pick because this is a good start for your anime journey because it's a great show.
Yep. Yep.
It's a fantastic show. In addition to the Cowboy Bebop television show, there was the Cowboy Bebop movie.
Knocking on heaven's door.
That was 2002. 65 tomato meter for that, but audience score still a 90 because it was just more Cowboy Bebop, and that's what the audience
That's all
wanted.
you. That's really all we wanted.
Critics kind of like, but
Because honestly, I could see where the critics are coming from. Because it was like, in the grand scheme of everything, it was kind of pointless. But still, it's more Cowboy Bebop. Like, what do you want? What do you want?
funny you should mention that it was pointless.
Uh,
2021, Netflix produced Cowboy Bebop. 51 average tomato meter, 52 average audience score. It basically seems to come down to say either you love it or you hate it. It's a 50-50 split, as you can see. A couple other reviews that were out there show it as, kind of being a bit of a mix there. You've got a 3 out of 5 Common Sense Media, 6.5 out of 10 for IMDb, and the average rating, Google's average rating summary, 3.6 out of 5. That's out of 1,000 reviews right there. And we're going to get into it. We're going to talk about this Netflix
boy.
show. And we're going to probably bring up the original and the movie and mostly cover what Netflix wanted to do. Because I
so
can't even say
here,
what they did.
yeah. So here's kind of where I was going into it. Because I trust you me, I've been following this thing since they announced it, and I'm like, but why?
Yeah.
But why though? But me being the person that I am, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna give it a chance. I'm gonna give it a shot. If they can hold me for the whole season, then you know what? It might not be that bad.
Right.
And then we had the casting come out, and then there was a whole thing where Ein was supposed to be a husky instead of a corgi, and that threw the internet and on fire. Yeah, and then there was a whole thing with Faye's characterization and the actress, and that was a whole thing. Which I think I want to start with that.
You want to start with Faye?
I think I want to start with Faye.
Okay.
I think because all right, so here's how I want to do. I want to start with Faye, and then I want to get into my general positives, and then I want to go to my general negatives, and then you can kind of jump in whenever you want to input because I got opinions.
You got thoughts?
I got thoughts. I got comments. I got concerns. I got criticisms. I
All
got
right.
everything.
Let's get into it. Start. You wanted
All
to
right,
start with.
let's go ahead and just let's start with Faye.
Okay.
I and it's gonna sound weird me saying this, but like me starting with Faye, I don't know what to think of Faye. I don't know, like the what's her name again? One second, let me make sure I got her name right.
Daniela Pineda.
There you go. That's it. I I don't know what was going on behind the scenes. From like all the articles that I was reading about how she didn't want to wear the traditional costume because it was too sexualized or whatever it is. And this new costume, it something about it just kind of rubs me the wrong way, but at the same time I don't hate it, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
It's I
It's a decent interpretation.
yeah.
It's the way they do. Having watched all of the different superhero shows, all the Netflix like Daredevil and stuff like that, you begin
Yeah.
to understand that like comic accurate costumes are kind of silly when you're
Yeah.
trying to give me something that is live action. And in terms
But
of the anime,
yeah.
I think the reason it doesn't bother you so much is because in the anime, what the hell is Faye wearing?
Now see here's the other side of me with that, cuz like there's the part of me that's like it's not that bad. Like you could do away with the jacket, but otherwise it's not bad. It's not bad. Now, the other side of my brain is like Faye's outfit is a direct representation of how Faye operates in the world. She uses her looks, she uses her allure to get what she wants,
Correct.
and the
And
costume is part of that.
that's acceptable. And I
Yeah,
will say that it is I don't want to step too far out, but I think this is one of those things where it's like the interpretation of the costume ultimately wasn't necessary because as you go through and you see the way Faye kind of interacts at different times
yeah,
with other people, I feel like it wouldn't matter what she had on.
yeah.
That she would
Normally it wouldn't.
still kind of interact the same way. And so what they did was instead of the yellow shorts and the thigh high stockings, they actually have black shorts, black leggings, and it
Hmm.
looks like black thigh highs, boots, like almost like
Yeah,
chaps
yeah.
that kind of make up that difference. So while it still kind of has the same
It has the
look,
same feel. It has the
right?
same feel, but it nails the landing, but very sloppily, in
Yeah,
my opinion, anyway. So like
it's when
it's
you do the double back half tuck twist and you take the step at the end.
yes, exactly. So like
We
it
have to deduct points, but
works. Like
good
it's not a
job.
10, you got a little 6, you got 6. That's fine. That's okay. You know,
Like you
this
ain't
it's all good.
fall,
Yeah,
but
but it wasn't
it
as
was
pretty as
stumbling.
it could be. You know, that's what it is. And that honestly, the costume is the least of my like concerns about Faye.
And real quick, just so that the viewers, anybody who's watching this, let me pull this image back up. It was the image that I used for the initial like just title card and whatnot. And there we have Spike, Jet, and Faye Valentine. That is what Faye wears through the entirety of the show. And
Yeah.
so the jacket, you see, she's still got the red jacket, the yellow big collared undershirt, and she's got something happening there with the stocking chaps things and the shorts. So
Yeah.
that's what we're referring to.
Yeah.
How did you feel about Faye?
So yeah, like I was saying earlier, she's been throwing me for a loop the whole season. And okay, just to preface this, I went into the Netflix series trying to make very little comparisons to the anime because I wanted to observe it for what it was. That being said, I just couldn't get my mind off of the fact that the Netflix Faye is more abrasive than her anime counterpart, and I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Like I still don't know. Like out of all the people in this show, Faye is the one that has confused me the most because I just can't nail down how I feel about her. Like
Okay,
at time at times she's really good, and at other times I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? What is this? And then like there's a scene with the mechanic
yeah,
on the Bebop, and that threw me for a complete loop because again I'm trying to make very little references to the anime, but in my mind, Faye like doesn't do romance at all. Like not after the one thing that she did, like after she woke up from her cryo sleep. She doesn't do romance at all. But I see her laid up with this girl and I'm like, what?
And it was honestly
What?
that moment felt gratuitous because it wasn't something that they revisited at all.
Yeah, after that episode, it never happened again. Nothing else. It's so foreign to me. Like not even the fact that it happened, it's the fact that it happened with Faye.
Yeah.
It's so foreign to me that it
Like
just
if you had let Jet get with Woody, that would have been horrible to see. But
well,
but even if it had, just the idea that if it had been Jet
yeah,
and Jet got back with the ex-wife, or they did something along those lines, something akin to him being the one with the romantic involvement, maybe to humanize Jet more, whatever the case may be.
right.
That might have landed better. It did feel very out of place being Faye.
Yes.
And I can honestly say, like, yeah, I felt like the mechanic segment was gratuitous, and I would even go as far as to say, again, unnecessary.
Yeah.
It
But that's just one of the long list of things with Faye that just kind of throws me for a loop. But then like somehow like in different parts of the season they kind of reel it back in. Like this is a woman who's struggling with her amnesia. She wants to know who she is. Stuff like that. And I'm like, this is good. This is good. This is real good. I like this.
yeah,
Like the whole thing with her trying to get her identity box back. That subplot that continued on throughout the whole season,
yeah,
that was good. That was good because it was paced decently. It didn't take the overall spotlight when it didn't need to.
right.
And like once we got to the crux of that subplot, it was satisfying because this is the point where she's gonna go find out who she is. Like she has a lead, she knows where she's gonna go with it. And then like at several different intervals, they're just like, yeah, this and Faye being more assholish than usual. I'm like, bring the other thing back. bring it
Yeah,
back,
I mean,
please.
there was a lot of times where they really wanted to, almost like they wanted to show that she is just as tough as they are, that she's
Yeah.
just as capable.
And
And
I
when I
think
say they, I mean, like, they have Spike Spiegel, they have Jet Black, and you get to see more examples and more instances of them handling business. And they wanted to
yeah.
show that she could handle herself. And given that there's 25 episodes or 24 episodes in Cowboy Bebop, the series,
Hmm.
the animation, you have more episodes to spotlight different things and different characters and stuff like this. We have 10 episodes on this Netflix show, and
Right.
so they had to kind of squeeze more out of it. And I do
Mm-mm.
think that might be why we kind of fast forward to this is Faye and she can do it. See, here's proof. Boom.
I want to put a pin in what you just said about squeezing content into the episodes. I want to put a pin in that because I have something
Gotcha.
to say about that later. But that's really all I have to say about Faye. Like, she's like, I don't have a solid like constant like how do I feel about her in my head because it's just it's so I don't want to say awkward. I want to say it's just different. Well, not different. It's weird. It's weird.
Yeah. I
Like
mean,
because I can't place
well,
it.
here's the biggest problem that you have with, and I think it, for me, this actually, it occurred with Faye, but it occurred with so much in the movie or in the show that, much like you, I was like, okay, you know what? And I'm the first one to be like, well, it is an adaptation. It's not a remake. It's not a reboot. It's not a recreation.
Yeah, it's
Meaning
an
that there are
adaptation.
liberties they will take. They
Yeah,
will, they'll try to keep, for lack of a better phrase, the spirit of what it
and
is.
and that's kind of where I temper my expectations with it, because I like at the end of the day, I know that this is just an adaptation. This is another Netflix adaptation of a beloved anime franchise. Like they did it with Bleach, they did it with Full Metal Alchemist, they did it with
Death Note.
they uh
I mean, they did it.
yeah, they an
Well, they
attempt
tried.
was an attempt was made with Death Note. So like that's kind of where I can like temper my expectations, because I know this is not going to be a one-to-one translation of Cowboy Bebop the anime.
Right.
I know this is not going to be a thing.
I mean, seeing
But
10 episodes as opposed to 24 episodes right away, I kind of knew. But to that
yeah,
point, with Faye, like you said, there were times where they did it well and there was times where they did it bad. And it was a lot of times in the show when you go in trying to let it be separate, and they do a lot to keep making the comparison.
yes,
And the show,
it
like
shows
the show
even
wants to make the
intro.
comparison.
Even with the intro, like they want you like this is Cowboy Bebop live action, and they show it to you as soon as the intro rolls. You know that you are watching a Cowboy Bebop Netflix show.
Now, I would have been, there were, did you want to get into the things you did like? Was that the next thing on your list there?
Yes, yeah, yeah. So
Okay,
let's,
so
let's okay.
you've gotten your faith thoughts out the way.
Yes,
A little
because
confusion
that's
there.
there's my mixed. There's my
Right.
mix, because I just don't know how to feel about Faye, and
Now,
feel anybody can feel free to tell me how they feel about it, and if I'm wrong or if I'm right, you tell me. But like that's just kind of where I'm at right
and
now.
that's
Because
definitely like leave a comment kind of thing, so
yes,
we
please,
can
yeah,
talk about it, discuss it.
because that's exactly where I'm at with Faye right now. I just don't know what to think of her right now.
Well, for my good, without a doubt, I like the swordfish. I like the
Yeah.
bebop.
Hmm.
I like the
Oh,
original ship that Faye had, and then her bubble ship,
yeah. The red tail.
the red tail.
Yes.
So I mean, I like that part of it.
Yeah, like anything that had to do with the effects or anything having to do with the ships or space or anything like that was great. It was beautiful. I loved that shit. Cuz it was just realistic enough, but it wasn't too cartoony, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and as a whole, that's kind of how I feel about the series.
Yeah, it's just realistic enough but not too cartoony.
And there's some limitations, of course, when you make the transition from anime to live action, you lose the physical ability of things that you can do. And a prime
Yes.
example, as you mentioned in the intro, the way they have animated Spike Spiegel to be running
Yeah.
on the
It's a
intro,
little it's a little awkward. It's a little bit.
but it works for the animation style
Yes.
because he is such a long, thin,
Mhm.
lanky, cartoonish character.
Yes. Yeah.
Like he is literally drawn like a cartoon.
Yes.
And when you try to do that live action, unless you're gonna like CGI the person and
It's
have
not going to
them be that
translate.
long, lanky look, it doesn't quite work because the
Yeah,
proportions are
it won't
different.
translate to one to one. But again, that's I think we can like leave that to
Well,
it's not going to be a one to one translation just because this is
right,
live action
right.
and
But
the
see,
source is anime.
the good comes in where they recognize what the source material is,
Yeah.
and they don't. I'm not gonna say they don't try to reinvent the wheel. Like they take what's good and they give you an accurate enough portrayal of that good
Yes.
without going so hard to be like, look at what we did. This is Cowboy Bebop. It's just like the show.
Right.
There's a few times where they have, I mean, of course, I'm always one of those people that like, I'm like that. Ah, he said it. He said the
You
title.
said the thing.
Like, and I look for that type of stuff. So there was plenty of opportunity to get those moments, and I appreciated those moments.
Yeah.
That, but the problem with that is those moments are the moments that do keep the comparison in place. So while you try to like separate and let it be its own thing, when you make those constant drops and reminders,
Yeah.
That's what's going to keep people making the comparison. And
Yeah.
once you do that, you're not as good as the original, and it's kind of hard to live up to that. But all in all, I think there was, like the CGI was good. I liked some of the, I guess you could call it backstory. I like some of the in between,
Yeah.
the segments that you don't know for sure. That's kind of speculated. I like being able to see that stuff. Everything
Yeah.
that took place at Anna's characters. I like the way they incorporated Gwen.
Yes. So there's actually kind of I don't know. I want to say if it's a controversy because it's not a controversy right now, but apparently there is some discourse about how Grant was portrayed because I don't know all the particulars yet. I'm hearing rumblings right now, and my wife kind of like let me know what was going on with that as well. So I can't say for sure what's going on, but there is a little bit of discourse of on how Grant was portrayed.
But I feel like, well,
But overall, it was a good like. I'm
yeah,
not gonna
I
say
won't. I
that it
won't.
was a bad job. No, it was a great job. Honestly,
Yeah.
like one of the better castings, I would say.
Yes.
Like I will never take that away from that because
But I think it's
beautiful.
one of those things. Like the reason I think it works in this current adaptation, um, given the world that we live in now,
Mhm.
looking back, you kind of look at it and say like, "Wow, Cowboy Bebop was really ahead of its time in
Right,
'98,"
right.
because the character Grin then was like, "What?" And of course, now you're just like, "Hey, look, it's Grin." And it's like it's very comfortable, it's very fluid, and fluid. It's very comfortable, it's very fluid, and it's very appropriate. And I don't know, I think the actor who played Grin did a great job.
Yeah. So like I said, I can't talk too much about like what's going on as far as that discourse goes because I'd only just learned about it before we started recording. So I honestly couldn't tell you what was going on with that. There just that there is something going on with that. But personally, in my opinion, it was done great. So I got no qualms with it whatsoever.
I think
Um,
for me the biggest issue I have with Grin is if we don't get a Cowboy Bebop, let's see, and I'm torn on this because if we don't get a Cowboy Bebop season 2,
they're gonna have to
we
at this
should
point.
not already be like we shouldn't already know Grin.
We shouldn't. We
That part
shouldn't.
I can
But
say,
like,
like we shouldn't know Grin because by the time
no.
Grin comes around and the
Yeah.
the
Still
character,
listening. By the way, I'm gonna go collect my dog.
gotcha. By the time we get around to having Grin and what Grin's character does as far as moving the story along, that's kind of it's very important in the anime. And for them to bring Grin in so early on kind of I'm not going to say undercuts the importance there, but it's really interesting that we already have Grin. And so I do like that Mason Alexander Park, who is the actor that is playing Grin, I liked what he did with the character. Whether I'm supposed to get it now, supposed to get it later, because the stuff that I did see kind of hinted towards the potential that I would expect,
Yeah.
but it
Honestly,
doesn't give away anything.
all that did was made me excited for what they were gonna do with Grant later on down the road if we got him this early. Yeah.
I
So
mean, just like the Mexican standoff in the bar,
yes.
that right there was one of those things. Like how quickly he went from guns drawn to pouring a drink. It's like, well, aren't you fun?
Yes.
And then guns are right back out. So it's
Yeah.
like that
Oh yeah.
character. I love that. Like
Like
the
I am
transition and how quickly it moves. So
Yeah, so like yeah, I'm excited to see what that actor will do with Grant later. Speaking of casting, Mustafa Shakir, yo, I have never seen a more perfect casting than Mustafa as Jet.
Yeah,
That was the best casting decision I have ever seen in my life.
yeah, that was
Holy shit.
ridiculously accurate. And I can honestly say that like he clearly
He understood the
watched.
assignment.
Right, he understood the assignment. He
He
made it a
understood
point to
this.
watch all of it and like really he's clearly a method actor because he got all of the little nuances down and the makeup department did a fantastic job.
Scary accurate job. Holy.
Like right down
Like
to the weird beard thing
the
happening, the robotic.
like the only thing that I would say takes away from him as Jet is just the size, because Jet, as we know him, is just a man built like a brick shit house,
Yeah,
and Mustafa's not quite that, but it still works. It still works. Everything else is just spot on.
yeah.
Like
Yeah, I
it's
mean
it is.
he stacks up to John Cho fairly well, so it kind of
Yeah.
works. But
Yes.
Daniela Pineda is a little bit more. She's a little bit more tank, and that's kind of what
Yeah.
throws it off because there's supposed to be such a transition between those two, and you don't really get that feeling like there's that gap.
Yeah.
And
So
so,
like with him cast as Jet, and to a degree John Cho as Spike, it's like I'll be the first to admit that I was super iffy on that casting. But it's the same thing with me and Deadshot with Suicide Squad. Like I was super not on board with Will Smith being that, but it works.
yeah, yeah,
It does work.
and
So,
it
I
works
will.
for lack of a better phrase, it works for the version of the character portrayed on screen, and I can't sit here and say that like John Cho, credit to him. I accept his Spike Spiegel because that is an iconic character,
Yeah.
more so even than Jet and Faye. Granted, the three of them together are required to really
Yes.
get that mesh,
And we'll get to that last part later.
but yeah, but Spike Spiegel is the standout. Like he's ultimately, it's safe to say he is the star
He
of
is.
Cowboy Bebop.
Well, I mean,
And
yeah, he is the driving. Well, no, I want to say he's the driving force, but he is the main character. Like a lot of what goes
right.
on outside of like the bounty hunting stuff revolves around Spike.
And that's the thing. Like, and so when I heard John Cho, the very first thing that came to my mind was the gunplay and the fight scenes. And I was just trying to think like, how is John Cho gonna pull that off?
Right.
Because I'm like,
And
they got the dude from Harold and Kumar to be Spike Spiegel. I
and
wasn't sure if I was gonna be sold on that.
yeah, and
And
to his credit, he did it. He actually did it
yeah,
really well. Like I was honestly surprised. I went into this show expecting to hate this character, but I was pleasantly surprised at how
yeah.
he handled it. Like I honestly couldn't believe it. So that honestly made me a little bit more invested into the series, to be quite honest,
Now
because
I with John Cho's character, I don't think it was possible to really kind of capture the personality that we saw from the anime. Just because that's such a
yeah,
distinctive
it is distinct.
characterization.
And honestly, at that point, I wasn't even expecting him to capture the full, like the attitude of Spike Spiegel. I wasn't expecting him to channel it, but
Right.
he did. He did his best, and he twisted it, and he made it his own.
And see,
And to be
and that's
and
where
to
I
be
can
honest
come
with
back and
you,
say like,
that's and honestly, that's better.
yeah,
That is
because
better because
I found that I was not making the comparison between this Spike Spiegel and the other Spike Spiegel.
exactly.
That was the
I
one character
I did
Well, not
not
the one
once
character.
make I did not once make a comparison between the anime version and the Netflix version of Spike Spiegel.
Yeah. Now I
And
did make the
that
comparison
is
with Jet, and I was happy with that
and
comparison because
and
that nailed it.
yeah, because
I was
it's literally Jet if he was real life.
right.
it was
Like they
it
just
was like it's
plucked him
hard
out
not
the
to.
anime and set him on set.
It's
Faye
hard not to.
Valentine, we tried to make that comparison. We're not really sure if that is that same character or if that is an interpretation of that character or an adaptation of said character.
And
And
that's where I'm very oof.
Julia has a whole new story, in my opinion.
Yeah, this is this is different. And I
I dig it.
I am I yeah, I'm like this is different. I wow.
I dig it.
Ooh, okay. So this is not the Cowboy Bebop that I grew up with. This is a whole other thing. Like, yes, okay.
Okay.
Because like honestly, I was sitting there the whole time, and she was doing her whole damsel in distress bit this whole time, and I was like, yeah, she's gonna get off soon. I feel it in my bones, and then she pulled shit.
Yeah. Yeah. There will be some spoiler, but there's some things I just want you to watch.
Yeah,
And
ooh,
that
like
one, I want you to just watch it for that. I don't want to. I'm
yeah,
going to
like
discuss.
I'm not gonna say nothing else about Julia, but like honestly, if you like Cowboy Bebop, like if you like the anime and you just want something different, yeah, yo, check out what Julia does, Joe. That shit, that shit, crazy.
Right. And I feel like we got a lot of Julia. A
We did.
lot of Julia.
We got way more Julia than I was expecting, and honestly, that is going to be a driving force in the second season.
I
I
agree.
feel it. I feel it in my bones, and honestly, I'm here for it.
I like the character of Anna.
I do. Yes.
I don't really know exactly that character, but I liked.
So Anna, and this is where I'm kind of confused. Like I'm confused, but I'm anticipating. I'm happily anticipating what's going to happen with her. Because Anna, if I recall in the anime, she was in like one episode and then she just died. She died. So like as with Anna being as prevalent as she is in this Netflix series, I really want to know what they're going to do with her. I really want to know. I'm so curious.
Exactly. So I'm looking at that. So were there any other goods? Anything
Yes.
else? Go ahead. The
Yes.
casting.
The casting for the most part the casting was on point, and I have some outliers and I will address in the
Notice we
bad.
haven't mentioned one person yet.
Oh, we haven't mentioned two people yet. I got something to say about somebody else. It's gonna be quick. It's gonna be real
Again.
quick.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I mean that too, but like the person I'm gonna talk about, like it's not gonna be real. It's not gonna be
Okay.
real. Um, yeah, it's not gonna be a big thing with this particular person, but I just want to like prepare yourselves now because I'm probably gonna have a very controversial take on this character.
Okay.
But the other big thing that I just want to just put out there, like gold star, the decision. I mean, it wasn't a choice, but the decision to bring Yoko Kanno back to oversee the music was the best thing that you could have done for this series.
That
If
is
you
the
didn't,
heart of
if
the
you
show.
could not get Yoko Kanno to come back, and even that get Watanabe to oversee stuff.
Yeah.
If you couldn't get those two to come back and oversee their respective things, this would not have worked
At
at
all.
all.
At all.
At all. Like even
I
even
can
with the
agree with
scores that
that
it's getting
100%.
now, it would have been a lot lower if you couldn't get those two on board.
It would have, and I can honestly say, like, having the soundtrack that they had kept the
Feel,
cohesiveness.
yeah, it was cohesive and it kept the actual feel of Cowboy Bebop.
Right. And
So
that was why I think you could watch it and enjoy it.
yeah,
I have a theory. I'm going to make a note here. I've got your note
and
for squeezing, so I'm going to make a note for me. Something I
actually,
want to talk about.
I could, like since you said that, I actually want to make this a point because I don't think I'm gonna have another chance to make this point
Go
here.
ahead. For sure.
So for Cowboy Bebop, the Netflix series, I feel like This would be best enjoyed by someone who has not seen the anime either in a while, like let's say like past like the last 5 years you haven't watched Cowboy Bebop. You would probably enjoy this. The other person that would enjoy this is somebody who has no idea what a cowboy or a bebop is. If you have
Yeah,
never seen this anime, I would recommend go ahead and just trying
yeah.
out the
I
Netflix
think
version.
this
Try it
is a
out.
great show. If and see, this
It's
is where we get into that weird comparison part.
mhm.
If there's no anime
To
to
make a
which to
comparison to
compare, this show is fantastic.
enjoyment go up.
This show is fantastic.
Yes.
You find yourself making those comparisons, and like I said, it's their own fault
Yes.
for trying to give us Easter eggs and show us this scene and give us
Like
that little bit and make this familiar. And because at first, like
so the
it's
then like I find that the Netflix adaptation of Cowboy Bebop has a very unique problem. You have a problem where your expectations are like the bar is on the floor, but it's also in the stars at the same time.
yeah, yeah,
You you
yeah.
you you
Everybody thinks
cannot
everybody comes into this thinking like you shouldn't have done anything to Cowboy Bebop, so it better
yes
be good.
right, but we're not expecting much.
And so when you land kind of in the middle, and that's why I think that it's the 50s and the 60s, because it's like
Yeah,
they did a damn good job overall.
yeah, and honestly, like, and we could just keep going back to it. Like, honestly, this is not Cowboy Bebop as you know and love it.
Yeah.
This is its own thing. This is a completely
You know
different
what?
thing. It hooks you in the.
1998 Cowboy Bebop is Cowboy Bebop 616.
There you
This is
go.
multiverse Cowboy
There
Bebop.
you go. There you go. That's the one.
That's how
'Cause-
you have to accept it like that. I won't even say
you know what?
view it like that.
You know what it is. You know what it is. It is the same. It's the same situation that's going on with Final Fantasy VII Remake. It catches you in like the first few like hours or episodes.
Yeah.
But as soon as that fucking like as soon as that crossroads hit, that shit hits.
Yeah.
And you are in a completely different world.
And they have to do enough because I noticed how the first couple of episodes were very heavy with the nostalgia Easter eggs.
Yeah, like the first episode was one for one. The first episode, except
True.
everything was all like almost beat for beat the first episode,
Correct.
and then it hits you with that hard 90-degree turn. Like, yo, this ain't it.
Yeah. And so
This is not the one.
they definitely they were able to hook you there and show you do enough to make it very familiar, very similar, and they gradually kind of like drifted away from that.
Yeah,
And they stopped feeding you so much of the Easter eggs.
there's no more hand holding. Here's the
Right.
show.
Exactly. And I think by the end of the third episode, you were
We
either
are
committed to this show or you were done with
or
the
you,
show.
yeah, you were done. Yeah. So I think that's all I really have for my goods. Unless you have something else.
Not under goods.
All right.
Those were the
Okay.
main things I wanted to discuss as far as the stuff that I liked.
All right. So I guess we're going to go ahead and move to the bad.
Take it away.
Okay. We're going to put you down for a second.
Yeah. I'm
then
going to
we're
stop
gonna-
altogether because if I have a problem, I will go in, and we don't
Yeah.
want that.
Yeah. I'm going to, because I have something else.
I got my water right here. So,
Okay. Perfect. Because I have,
well, let me just ask you this. I will keep it moving. Is Vicious under your bad?
yes. Yes, he is. Oh, I got a lot to say about Vicious. Oh, but let me go ahead and do this real quick because I'm gonna need this motherfucker here.
Here we go.
Yeah.
We about to get into it.
Okay.
He has
Okay.
thoughts. He has feelings.
I have opinions. Let's
and
go.
Opinions. What you
All
got?
right. So the first thing that I want to address. Ooh, that is really good, actually. The first thing I want to address. So remember when I said put a pin in the squeezing
Yep.
and stuff? I think the show has the opposite problem. It's not so much squeezing stuff into an hour long episode. I think it's stretching things out too much in a lot of places. Like for instance, once again, the first episode. That episode took 24 minutes in the anime. And it took about an hour in the Netflix special. Now, net special series, you know what I mean. Anyway, now this is not this is also a problem because the stretching of the episode hurts a lot of places, but it also helps, which is why I consider it a bad because it's not consistent.
Yeah.
There's a lot of places where fights drag on, situations drag on when they do not need to. There's a lot of, well, I don't say there's a lot of empty air, but there's just a lot of places where characters just kind of meander a little bit, and there's nothing going on. It doesn't hook you, kind of takes you out of it. There's places where the stretching of the episode really does help. Like a lot of it has to do with Spike. A lot of Spike's backstory is where those stretches really benefit the series.
Right.
Because we didn't get like any of this in this detail in the anime, and I think this is a credit to the Netflix series.
And see, and that was one of those things that actually did fall under my good, was like getting that extra, getting that backstory, getting that anything that was like, I guess, original content.
Yes.
The new stuff, I think all the new stuff was done very well story wise.
And it was. And this is why I say this is a very unique problem, because of the fact that it's not consistent. The stretch, like when you stretch an episode from 24 minutes to 50, it presents a need to fill that time in with pointless stuff.
We already know how anime people feel about filler. So.
Oh yeah. But it wouldn't be such a hanging point for me if it was consistent. Like if we consistently got like really good stuff happening in those little long stretches of time, I would have no problem with it. If I got more Spike backstory, or even Faye or Jet, if I got more backstory within those stretches of time, this would be a non-issue, right? Because that's stuff that's needed. But there's a lot of time where characters are just kind of looking at each other, or they're just kind of talking about nothing, or they're just sitting there, and it really took me out of it sometimes.
Yeah, characters did take a long time to wake up and look around and start moving.
Yeah. Yes.
That'd be like 3 minutes of screen time. They're just sitting there, staring, blinking, looking around, cut to the ceiling, cut to the door, cut back to the person in the bed.
It's a lot of that, and it just kind of takes you in. And like it got to the point where I just kind of wanted to like test something myself, and I rewatched all 10 episodes to see where I could cut time out and nothing of value would be lost. And in every single episode, I could at least cut 5 to 15 minutes out of every episode and nothing of value would be lost.
So you probably could have cut that from, if you could get 5 to 15 minutes out of 10 shows, it'd be 150 minutes. You could actually like eliminate 2 episodes. This could have been an 8 episode show.
It could have been an 8 episode show.
We could have saved some of that content for season 2 even, if we had done something special like 6 episodes. Not even
that. We could have made it so that like a lot of these stretches of time, like we could cut out the stretches of time for a couple of episodes, and we could make one dedicated episode that was an hour long dedicated to Spike, or well, not even Spike, because Spike has his moments throughout the show. Right. We could use that. You could use 1 or 2 episodes to focus more on Jet, to focus more on Faye. Stuff like that.
I do kind of feel like we got the Jet episode.
We did get the Jet episode, yes.
I do kind of feel like, obviously, we had a lot of Spike moments, and I would almost say a Spike episode. Faye is the only one, because since we don't know anything about her background,
Faye would have benefited the most from this, yes.
Right. I am curious to see how they are going to tackle that should a season 2 come around, and what they're going to do with that.
And honestly, I wholeheartedly believe that season 2 we're going to get our Faye episode like we did with Jet.
Okay.
Which I'm going to put out here right now. The Jet episode was the best episode in the series so far. I will die on this hill. the best episode.
I'll have to come back to that. I can't disagree with that.
I
That was a
like that's
good.
not like that's just me, but I like out of all 10 episodes that I watched and I watched them twice, that episode was the consistently best episode.
Yeah, yeah, that was.
I had very little problems with that particular episode in general. So I will like I feel fully confident saying that like that particular episode is the best in the season.
See, and I liked. I think my favorite episode had to be the episode with Faye's mom.
That one was good as well. Yeah.
That would be because when I think of like, because we got to see something significant from each of the characters in that show. We got to see Faye in her con artist moment. We got to see Jet in his
Dad.
parental
Yeah.
dad, yeah, like his
Dad
dad
man.
mode, and we
Yeah.
got to see Spike take out like a whole gang.
Yeah.
And so we got everything that you expect. And then the actress who was playing Faye's mom, like, she was actually kind of funny, and I enjoyed having her there. But just to
She
watch
killed it.
the
Yeah.
dynamic between Faye and the mom and the way Jet and Spike were responding, like everything in that episode to me meshed really, really well. And that was kind of where I think we got some growth in all the characters. And it was like there was, to me, that was a perfect episode. That was a
Yes.
perfect episode. I can see
Yeah.
why you like Jet's episode.
Yeah.
It had the right look, had the noir feel, the color, now slapping a sepia filter on the whole thing just to show that it took place further back, And
Right.
so it was a very interesting choice whenever any director or TV show does it. Any other major? Well, I'm like, because we'll get to Vicious, but were there any other like general bads that you want to discuss? Or
Yes, and it kind of piggybacks off of the stretching of time. Um the action scenes felt really slow. Like, and I understand like it's a translation from an anime, which is going to move a little bit faster because you also have to work within 24 minutes. But even with a 50-minute runtime, the fight scenes and like any kind of action in general, more often than not, just felt really slow. Like the choreography was nice, the choreography was great, but it felt a little stilted, you know?
right, I actually don't feel like I got as much action as I would have expected.
Right. And to be in, and like I said, I'll give it to him. The choreography was on point. Everything like hits were solid. Everything was nice. It's just we got it. I felt like they could have picked it up like
The only
a little bit. Yeah.
There's only two fight scenes that are really even memorable for me. That is the fight with Hakeem.
Mhm.
I thought that was done really, really well. And, that being such a big episode from the animated series,
Mhm.
I wish they had gone more that route with like the chase scene. I wish they had done something more akin to that.
Yeah.
But I was okay with the way that they did it, and the future tech, and this, that, and the other. Because you got a
Right.
futuristic movie, you need to show some future tech.
Right. And it's not so much that it just felt slow. It was just like inconsistently slow, you know. And I think that's the problem I have with the series in general. It's just all of it feels inconsistent.
I think there were multiple directors, if I'm not mistaken, and so that sometimes can affect the consistency when you have a couple of different people
Yeah.
directing movies. You can get some you can get some inconsistency issues.
It's fine.
Pacing can be thrown off.
Yeah, and and honestly, that makes a lot of sense now that I hear it said out loud.
And
Multiple directors, there's going to be a little bit of conflict.
the other fight scene that stands out is when, spoiler here, when we see Fearless go to take out the Neptunians.
Mm-hmm.
Because that whole thing was technically shot in the slow-mo cam, it was a one-take slow motion cam, and it was like, a really cool segment. So that was like the only other fight that stood out. All the other fights were just like normal, you know. Fearless had a whole John Wick moment.
Yeah.
And that was what made that, it was a one take shot and that looked really, really good. The fight with Hakeem, though that fight was kind of broken up and whatnot, it
Yeah.
still looked
I
really,
feel
really
like
good.
I feel like that's where my issue comes with. Just because of the fact that I know for a fact that the Fearless Neptunians fight was shot with slow mo cam. I feel like that I don't know. I feel like they just took that approach to the rest of the fights, and it doesn't work. It doesn't work for me, at least. At least it's just
No, I mean, even the fight, Vicious and Spike, their fight was hella boring. Just no, straight up. It was boring.
yeah. You're right.
It
No,
was
you're
at
right.
regular speed. It wasn't like there wasn't. I mean, granted, there was no shaky cam, there were no quick cuts or anything like that. So, like you said, the choreography was on point, but I did not feel any sense of danger for either one of them.
Right.
And it's almost like I think the problem is their choreography was too crisp. It looked like they were practicing still
Yeah.
because it would be
Yeah. Like you're anticipating so you can know what to do next, and
right. It
it's
wasn't a
weird. It's
fight where they were like,
right.
nobody fights at that pace anyway. You know what I'm saying? If I got a gun and the guy swings a sword at me and I block it,
Yeah.
I don't have to like think about what I'm gonna do next.
Like
It's like block, look,
I was
turn,
I I
shoot,
felt like
hold, turn.
not like I just had a thought. Like a lot of the fights, I felt like I was watching a WWE match.
It was
That's it
very
right there.
choreographed.
It was very it was very scripted. There it is. It was a script. It was very
Scripted
scripted.
fights. Yes, and I think that kind of makes up, and that kind of goes back to what I was saying as far as like you got John Cho as Spike Spiegel. The very first thing that came to mind is like, how are we going to handle the gunfights and the fighting?
Right.
Who was? And maybe I'm mistaken. Maybe I should have felt better about it because let me look something real quick. If this is Star Jay Chow. Had we gotten Jay Chow from Green Hornet as Spike Spiegel,
I wouldn't have the issue with this fight.
it would be different.
Yeah, I wouldn't have the issues with the fight.
By getting
Now,
John Cho, you know what I'm saying? It's like it's a very, very common thing. When you get a martial artist to do martial arts, they do
Yeah.
martial arts.
yes.
When you get an actor to act like they are doing martial arts, they act like they are doing martial arts. That was my problem with the fights. And that's
Yep.
how every one of the fights feels. Because I don't know who the hell Vicious is, and we can get to him now. I don't know who the hell Vicious is. I don't know what Vicious has done. So I
Oh
had no
man.
basis for his ability to fight. But I don't feel like Fearless should have ever been worried about Vicious.
Oh man. Okay, can we talk about Vicious now?
Let's talk
Jesus.
about Vicious now.
Jesus fucking Christ. Okay, why does Vicious look like he's 24 and 48 at the same time? Jesus Christ. That like I said, the casting for the most part was spot on. I don't know what the fuck they were thinking with Vicious. I don't know if it was the direction or it was just the actor himself. Shout out to Alex Hassel. I'm pretty sure he does good stuff. He does what was the other one? What was the one that he was doing that I really liked?
I'm sure, like, name
The
one.
Isle. The Isle. I think it was the Isle.
Yes,
The Isle was really
he
good.
is in the aisle.
The Isle was really good.
I
Yeah,
have to check that out.
yeah. The Isle was really good.
I will
So
watch
like
the
I
aisle just to redeem him.
yeah, the Isle's really good. Just give that a watch. But like, I don't think this was the role for him. I can't. Like Because when you see Vicious, he is menacing. He's intimidating. I
Vicious
see,
is
I see
like
this Vicious,
Sephiroth's
and
little
I'm
brother.
like, yeah, like, and then like I see the Netflix one, and I'm like, oh God, why?
That's
Is
one of
this
those
supposed to be?
things where like
I'm
they
scared
heard
of
his
this.
name and thought like, well, his name is Vicious, so he's must be angry, right? He's angry. Is that his? That's his thing. I mean, his name is Vicious. Like this other guy, we'll call him Fearless, and like that.
No, it honestly it didn't work for me. Like, and granted, like the first time I saw him, I was like, okay, this is goofy, but I'm gonna give him. It's still episode one. Let me keep going. See, because it's gonna get better. I always saw like this man spoke like one sentence. Fine, whatever. Let's keep going. Oh no, it gets worse. Oh, it actively gets worse. Oh, it's terrible. Oh,
he
it's
was
bad. Oh
right.
shit.
That first episode where the first time we see him and he's kind of like in the fish house and they're telling him like but the capo knew him. You know what I'm saying? He called him Fearless, but that
Yeah,
can't be right. At that time, it was kind of like there's still a chance that he could be good.
yeah, and then it just keeps going, and he just
And
keeps
then
getting worse
every
and
time
worse
I
and
saw him
worse.
after that, right, it just kept going
It
downhill.
it got worse and worse and worse as the season went on, and honestly, I am oh my god. I was sitting there like I am waiting to be scared of this man. I'm trying to fear for Spike's life, and he did not deliver that.
Let me show you how little concern there was. And this is a spoiler moment. After Faye comes back in her ship,
Hmm.
shoots up the church, they barely escape. My man Spike very casually, very calmly walks back into the church, walks to the first dead body, picks up a gun and a magazine, checks it, and then proceeds to be threatened. There was no
Why?
fear. None.
Why? What is it? Come on,
No
man.
fear.
And again, like no diss to Alex Hassel. He. I'm sure he did the best he could with what he was given, but like this was bad. This was actually a low point for me. Like, because like if you've seen the anime, you see Vicious come on screen. He commands a certain amount of respect, either through like actual like respect or fear. Like he shows up, you are pissing yourself.
I
Because if
mean,
he
they
shows up, somebody's going to die.
look, the fact that they had the elders, Caliban, they constantly berated the character Vicious. They took all of the strength of this character
This
away.
was a bitch. He was a bitch the whole time. And oh my
I
god,
don't
it's
want
it,
to ruin it,
it's
but like that last episode, yes, yes, he was a bitch.
he got bitched out. He
Hard.
got he got bitched out. I can't believe it.
I
I
mean,
can't
even with the
believe
click, I expected him to like, ah,
yeah, yeah.
nothing.
It's like
Like, you know what I'm saying? Instead, he was like,
this man was actually shitting himself. Like, are you? How did look how they massacred my boy? Like, what do
right,
you?
right.
What happened?
And that
And
was how I felt about the character as a whole. I was very
like, okay,
disappointed with that character.
look. So let me tell you how. Like, let me put it into perspective for people because I don't think they understand. Vicious is in my top 10 villains of all time. Top 10. And they did my boy dirty like this.
Yeah,
Vicious got hoed.
they turned him into a
Bitch.
not even like a series arc villain. They turned him into like an episode villain.
He's a filler villain.
Right. He was the
He's a
villain.
filler
He was
villain.
a creature of the week villain. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Oh
He's the
my
bad guy we have
god.
to defeat by the end of these 22 minutes.
Yeah.
Not the guy who's lurking in the shadows who at any
It-
moment could be your downfall.
It was
You know, I missed this on the plus, and I need to point this out when we were talking
what's
about the
up?
plus.
Mm-hmm.
La Peru, the clown.
Oh, okay. That was actually on my bad.
Wait, 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 wait,
that,
wait.
that was
Here's what's good. I was trying to show the wife, like I was giving her a reminder of
mhm.
Cowboy Bebop because it's one of those things where it's like, I know I watched it, I own it, I I have my
Yeah.
DVD. It's one of the few items that I own on my Amazon digital collection because I
Right.
think at one point it was on sale for like it was crazy. It was like on sale for $5. It was like
Criminally low.
right, like oh,
Criminally
I
low for
must buy
that
that
series. Yeah.
just because if I ever want to watch it, it's there and I can. Keeping my eye out for Samurai Champloo. Just throwing that out there. But
True, true.
that was one of the episodes like that character was such a weird and unique character designed specifically for anime.
Yeah.
I liked the practical effects that they used to explain how,
Yes.
and the actor and the way he went about what he was doing. Like, he still could have had a cane gun, so I was mad they didn't do that part.
Yeah.
But this was one of those things, like, they did the things I like because it was one of those, oh, they did it when he opens the coat.
Oh,
You know what I'm saying? That was cool.
here's like because everything you're saying is true. Like they did the character great, but it was just the initial fight between him and Spike that threw me all the way off. Like that shit was horrendous.
Yeah.
That shit was terrible. Oh my god! Like
But that goes
they,
back to the fighting in the
yeah,
series as a
it,
whole.
it's all like honestly like if you you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna say it. Like, all right, so there is a point where he's fighting, like Spike is fighting this guy, and obviously they can't do shit about it because he can't shoot at him because he has a ballistic like hollow shield or some shit,
Right.
and he's got like hover boots and shit, and this man can like teleport. He's doing his little teleport thing while Spike's shooting at him. He grabs him by his fucking shirt, and then off screen with silhouettes on the side of a building, this man throws Spike up, does his little thing, does his little kickflip, and then like they cut back to them landing, and it's like Spike had just jumped off of like a fucking like a box or something, and just kind of fell over.
The
And I'm like,
practical
that
effects versus the CGI effects
it
did not
was
mesh.
it was bad.
And
Like
given that that's one of the best fights in the animated series,
it was bad.
like think of Tekken. If you do martial laws, triple
Was
backflip kick,
was watching the Tekken fight. Holy shit! Holy shit! Holy shit! It was a Tekken fight. I was watching a Tekken 3 fight. That's what it was.
because it's the
Holy
same
shit!
little like flip kick and
Yeah. Yeah.
that boxy
Oh my
movement.
god! It was so bad. But all right, we're getting off track.
But
Getting
I
off track.
did.
We gotta
I
go.
liked the character. I like that they brought, like I said, they had the moments where you're like, oh, he did the thing. I like
Yeah.
that part. And
The problem, like the issue is like because he was menacing. He was
that's why I want
scary.
to bring him up. I was more
That was
concerned with
scary.
him than I was
Then
with Vicious.
yeah, because Vicious, like the Netflix Vicious, does not command a presence. He doesn't. He's just there, and he does things. I guess.
The two
And like
bodyguards that were by him, the girl,
I
Lynn
was
and
more scared of him than I was
who was that? Lynn and Sin or something like that.
something like that, but I was more scared of them than I was of him because I don't know what they could do. I
Right.
know what Vicious could do. He
He
don't
could
shoot because he don't
order
fucking shoot. He
them.
got a sword. Yeah,
You could order them to do stuff.
and I would be
Lynn and
way more
Shin, that
intimidated.
was the name. Lynn
I
and
would be
Shin.
way more intimidated if he actively used them more.
Yeah. Because if there was some idea that, like, you don't want him to have to lift a finger, at least
Then do
give
that.
that concept.
Yeah, at least they do that. Show us that.
But, yeah, nothing about him was What else you got? What else you got? Because we could sit here and just rip on Vicious. I don't
Yeah.
I don't feel that I feel that was a casting miss.
Yes.
Um,
Oh, let's talk about the other
and
casting list. We got to talk about Ed.
what you got?
We got to talk about Ed. What the fuck?
No,
What
we
the
don't.
fuck
We don't
was
have to
that?
talk about it.
What the fuck was that?
That was
What the fuck was that?
that was an Easter. That should have been like a post credit scene.
I wouldn't even accept it as a post credit scene.
Let
That
me
shit.
let me tell
What
you
the
why it
fuck
needs
was
to be a
that?
post credit scene. It needs to be a post credit scene. That way they can say that they did it. They can say that Ed was in the first one, but then come season 2, they'll have time since they didn't want to put Ed in the
Well,
first one. I was okay with it. Like, and here's the funny part: I knew Ed was going to eventually be in it,
yeah, I knew that. Everybody knew that. Like you
and
can't like
so
because she's part of the Bebop crew.
right.
You can't have the Bebop crew without Ed. It can't happen. And I was like, I went into this and I saw like every like because I never skipped the intro. I never skipped it. And every time I watched the intro, I was sitting here like, it is a crime punishable by death that Ed is not in this fucking intro. And then I get to that last episode, I'm like, oh, I'm okay with Ed not being in this intro. Oh God, what in the fuck did you do to Ed?
Right.
First of all, what was that wig? What was that wig?
That was Bad Moose and Hairspray.
What was no,
See, and again,
no.
that's why I say it would have worked had it just been a post-credit scene, or if it
You
had
know,
been a scene while the credits were rolling. They could have
mm-hmm.
done that. That way, it would be just another Easter egg to say that it was there, to say that
Yeah.
they did it. But come season 2, I don't believe that is the person that will be in the role.
I honestly, because I can't even say that because I don't even know. I don't know. We had the one interaction and that was it.
Which is why I don't think that was like a director's child
Had to be
who just showed
something.
up to do that one scene. And come next season, we're gonna get the, like when they come back with season 2, we're gonna get the person that's actually going to be Ridiculous Ed and
Radical Ed.
Radical Ed. And
Ridiculous Ed.
sorry, they made me watch Ridiculous 6 the other day, and so Ridiculous was tip of the tongue. But yes, they're gonna show us the real Radical Ed, and now it was kind of the fact that she had Ein with her
Yeah.
at the time that she was coming to get Spike, and just I don't know. I'm very curious how they would get back to season 2 with the way they ended things.
Yeah, because this is this is very premature. This is where everybody splits up, and that doesn't happen until later on. Which I mean, again, it adaptation, not the real thing. It is what it
The
is.
fact that they took these 24 episodes and they showed us the story in 10,
Yeah,
they did not cover all of it, so there's still some story available to be told. But now you start getting into some freelance writing.
yes,
And so it's almost like because they did not, the fact that we already got the showdown, Vicious and Spike,
yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
So that's dead. That's gone. We're done. We did that.
So
It's over.
the and I guess the problem is like you're basing everything off of a one season show. Had
Yes.
if they stop here, if we don't get a season 2, then I can let my imagination kind of fill in the gaps.
Right.
And having my imagination fill up, looks like we have a special guest here. Looks like Mr. Park is just going to hop on in with us in the middle of us recording, which is quite all right. Come on in, Will.
Yeah, bring it in here.
And so it is. If you stop here, I can say there's enough where you were like, "Hey, you did that thing. Hey, you did that thing. I saw this. I saw that. I got my story." And I just let my imagination fill in the gaps. And if you try to continue on from this point, you're going to start getting into very unmarked territory. I don't know how that's going to work.
Honestly, I don't think it can.
Because if you don't have, you could do a little bit more with Faye Valentine. You could do
Hmm.
that, and that could work. Because she has so very little story anyway, you can kind of not necessarily do a spinoff for her, but you can kind of just like deep dive more with her, however you choose. And if you get the blessings of the writer, you could do whatever you wanted to do and tell her story.
Right.
Jet's pretty well established beginning to end of the series. Spike has those dark spots, but now
Yeah.
we've kind of gone in and shine a light on a few of those. You know what I'm saying? We see the history, we see how Julia came about, we see the breakdown between him and Vicious, we see that backstory. We now have those moments. We see what caused him to want to get out of that life, and we saw the betrayal. Like, I feel like we got Spike's backstory. So the only person left to do anything with really is Faye.
Yeah.
So season 2 ends up having to be mostly about her. It's I don't know that I need the season 2. I mean, I don't know that I need a season 2. Maybe if I go back and I watch watch it a second time like you did, I can feel more strongly for I need my season 2, but right now I'm
Well,
like, "Oh, that was good. I'm glad I watched that."
yeah. I kind of did have something to say on that, but like I think that I don't know, unless you got some lows, I don't know.
One other low I got, and this will pretty much be for my summary as
Mm.
well. All in all, we are at a point now where we get to watch shows and we get to binge them. We can sit down, and Netflix gives us all 10 episodes. So if you decide you want to watch this thing in a day, you can do it. You can go beginning to end, start to finish.
Yeah.
One of the things that happens with that is there are 10 episodes. So technically, there are 10 different stories being told. There's not a part 1 here or part 2 there, anything like that. There's no real, I almost want to say no continuation, because each episode has its break, has its, see you Space Cowboy, and then it has that next intro where the music plays and you go in. I feel like this series actually does better if you take some time between episodes.
Yeah. I can
I
agree to
think
that.
having literally, I watched 8 episodes my first day. First day I sat down, remember I said, "Oh, like I'll probably get 4 or 5." I watched 8 episodes first day, and part of me was like, "Oh, I can finish it. Let me just get through it." And part of me was like, "Okay, it's not that bad." But having watched it, I'm not in a rush to go back and watch it a second time to
Right.
try to pick this out or pick that out. I think it would have done better for this show to be something that was, and I'm not saying like, oh, it should have been on Amazon or it should have been here or there. I just think it would have been something that would have been better enjoyed, even for me, had I paced myself and spread it out.
Yeah.
Because there would have been things that would have been less glaringly obvious. There would have been things that were less potent as I had time to kind of simmer down from episode to episode.
Right.
That's probably my last negative, but to me that kind of summarizes my feelings on the show as a whole. I enjoyed it. I watched it. I would recommend it. As I said, this is a multiverse Cowboy Bebop, so it is not the same Cowboy. And of course, I'm always the first one to kind of point out like it's an adaptation. It's
Yeah.
based on, so it's a little different.
You're right.
What you got, and then we'll let Will get some thoughts in. He got here to
Yeah.
tell us what he thinks about Cowboy Bebop. So he's obviously
I'm
got some
actually I
thoughts.
like the next thing I want to say is it's going to be like for the future of the for the series. So we can let Will go ahead and say his piece real quick because I'm actually curious to hear what he has to say about this.
Funny thing is, I did want to be on the call, but I was actually not trying to be on the call. Here I am.
We're glad you made
So
it. What's up, man?
Yeah.
yeah, just kind of clicked in and Discord started. I was like, hey, here we are. Cowboy Bebop, I think was good for, and again, I'm a short version. I think it was good for anyone new to the series and stuff like that, and just watching it, learning about it, and stuff like that. My wife, me, her watched together. I said I was going to show her the original afterwards and stuff like that. So she watched it, and she was invested in it. She literally, pushed through all 10 episodes and stuff like that, freaking with me, and stuff like that, just to kind of see how it turned out. And she kind of liked how the story played out. I'm over here kind of like,
Eh.
there's some things.
I have some
There's some
thoughts.
things.
I've,
Yeah, is that that? I
mm,
think you pretty much hit the one of the biggest nails on the head that was kind of bugging me and stuff like that with um, what they were kind of going into for possible season two, where they were going to kind of go with it. So
yeah.
I think I think it would have been a good like 10 episode like one off and just kind of be done. You could leave a slight opening kind of how you did and stuff like that, but it doesn't have to continue and stuff like
It
that.
does not.
I'll be honest. I was just happy to see Ed. That was my favorite part. Like I'll be honest. Like I like Ed's character and stuff like that, and the fact that they gave Ed to us so like that freaking with it.
And
I
they
was
and
like,
I will
cool.
say they gave
I,
us
I
like
want
actual
to have it.
Ed,
Hmm.
Yeah.
as
So
wild and unpredictable and biker shorts take time. Like they gave us Ed,
yeah.
Yeah.
accurate,
So
Yeah.
weird as hell, accurate,
exactly.
funny
So
looking.
Yeah. I wasn't a fan of the look, but you know what? Honestly, the bar is so on the bar's on the floor at this point. So I can't really complain. Beggars can't be choosers at this point. But like, unless you got something else to say, well, my
no,
bad.
that was it. I
What
mean,
did
just
you have any high points? What were
Yeah.
some of the
Well,
things
just
that were really good for you?
um, I think honestly, freaking they were trying to remain true to the look and stuff like that of the characters and stuff like that. Costume wise, with that, I thought did a very good job and stuff like that. Um, some of the mannerisms, I felt like they were trying to kind of be on par with certain moves and stuff that Spike is used to doing and stuff like that. But I still felt like everything was stiff, I guess you could say, so that. But it was clear that they at least looked at the source material, freaking,
They watched all 24 episodes before they started
and
filming.
and tried to do something with it and stuff like that. So I definitely give them props for really trying to create their own vision out of what they had and stuff like that. And they did a fairly good job for again somebody new coming in and explaining the series. I think it definitely good because it would ramp up interest towards watching the original anime, so that which
yeah.
my wife is now excited to watch. So that's I
And
think
I
they did
think
that right.
and I think that's the net good that will come from this adaptation. Like whether you love it or you hate it, um, it's gonna make you want to watch the original and see where it comes from
Yeah,
and see all that goodness,
yeah.
that timeless anime.
And
Um,
that will be so good to get a whole
yes.
new generation or a whole new branching of anime lovers who saw this show. It wasn't that bad. In fact, I would even say it was pretty good. I liked it. Overall, I liked it.
Yeah.
And I
Overall, I thought it was pretty good. Like at its lowest point, I still think that even at its lowest point, I don't think it took away from the overall feel of the show. So I don't feel bad like recommending it to people.
yeah.
Like it is very much like a lot of reviews say it's one of those things you're gonna either love it or you're gonna hate it. So it's really gonna be up to the person at that point.
All right. Um, any closing thoughts?
I actually do have a little bit, and there's kind of a thread that I'm kind of following here.
Okay.
So for anybody who is familiar with the Cowboy Bebop series, you would have noticed that Ed had said, mentioned a name, Vincent Volaju. So that leads me to believe that in season two, they are going to make an adaptation of the movie and I don't know how to feel about this. What? What? So okay, so we just like Spike just got finished fighting for his life. His ex girlfriend just shot him out of. Oh, well, hold on. Ooh. Hold on. Wait, no one spoil that one. Hold on. Hey, wait a minute. But he just got finished fighting for his life, and then this child, the sassy lost child, just comes out of nowhere and is like, "I got a job for you, Vincent Villaju," and Spike's in and out of consciousness. So like, what? So everything's out of whack now. This is where are we in this timeline?
Yeah. I mean, adaptations to some degree, especially when you have like the TV series adaptations, they can really they take the liberties they feel they need to take in order
Yeah.
to advance what they have to. If nothing else, dropping that name when they did is to create buzz and potentially get them a season 2.
It has created buzz with me because I need to know. I need to know how this is gonna go. Because contrary, like I like knocking on heaven's door. I really did. So I need to know how well is this gonna go and how many episodes are they gonna dedicate to this thing? Because if they stretched out all these episodes to almost hour long episodes, how long is the movie going to be? Because the movie was about an hour long, about maybe hour and a half, I think. Yeah, about an hour and a half long. So how long is this going to take? Are they going to stretch it out, or are they going to shorten it? Like I don't. Are they going to pull a Dragon Ball, or what are we going to do?
Well, I mean the what they could do, and this is obviously just speculation at this point, but what they could do is the first like 2 or 3 episodes could be the movie, and then the remainder could be all original storytelling based in the world that they now would have created.
Right.
And a couple of the articles that I had read kind of made it sound as though that's what this series was going to be. That these would be like maybe the feel was going to kind of be like maybe in between episodes. So if you've got the 20 plus episodes from the anime, this would be like, as they call them, like the lost sessions. These would be those unaired episodes.
Yeah.
They would be just the wacky adventures that we find our heroes on in their world, the bounties that they go to collect. Because when it's all said and done, I think I saw like one bounty turned in.
Yeah.
The whole show, they're bounty hunters. I saw one bounty. And it's like, even in the anime, they were always struggling to turn in their bounties and actually get bounties, and they did, like, they always having to eat the peppers and stuff like that. So I mean, there were things that were very familiar and stuff that you expected, but at the same time they had the opportunity to do what they wanted, and it's like, if you choose to change this and this, then change that too.
Yeah.
If you're going to be consistent with all of it, be consistent with all of it. If you're going to start taking liberties, take liberties in a way that give you an opportunity to build your world so that you can have 4 seasons of Cowboy Bebop, and the last 2 seasons are complete standalone original stuff that's never been there. You absolutely can do that, unless you put this out there with the intention for it to be 1 season and done.
Right.
Because like you said, you're curious how they're going to get to season 2, given that they've already incorporated as much as they did. The stuff that they left out, they kind of glossed over and jumped right over to this and that. You know what I'm saying? And we have to get some of these other parts. Like I want to see episodes like 15 through 22 like really fleshed out. Like I said,
Right.
we had Grin in here already, and Grin is a bark, like, I don't know, the assistant manager at Anna's. Like, I need that type of stuff to be clarified and thought out in advance. So I am curious to see what they will do season 2. I'm with you as far as the movie. And what are you? Just out of curiosity, you said you were tracking something. What are you tracking for that?
So, because I'm looking at when the movie takes place, and it takes place between episode I think 22 and 23.
Mm-hmm.
So, but we're also like so far into the series with these 10 episodes that we got. So I am trying to track how much of this is actually going to be like pulled from the anime and how much of this is just going to be completely original shit.
Yeah.
Also, how many episodes are we even going to be looking at? Because I don't know if they're going to do another 10. If that's the case, so like I have a lot of questions, but I don't even know how I would even get the answers right now until they say something, or even if we get another season.
Right. We have to first have our second season confirmed,
Yeah,
and then they can start like working on getting the rest of that stuff together. I don't know. You just have the future to look forward to what it could be, and you know I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful. I'll say that. I would watch a
yeah,
season two. I don't know that I need a season two. A one and done. I almost
yeah,
would have preferred for it to be written and closed out for a one and done.
yeah,
But there's nothing wrong with closing it with the possibility.
yeah.
End
Because
it,
yeah,
but
they
end
could have
it with
just
the
left it
possibility.
here. They could have just left it here, and but they chose to make it a whole thing. So
Yeah.
now we have to see what it is that they're cooking up if they get the chance to cook it.
All right. Well, that's my feelings on Cowboy Bebop. Overall,
Better
I
make sure they
like it.
season their food.
Say what?
They better season their food before they cook it. Make sure they
Hey,
know.
Don't be
we
giving
can
us
only
no
hope.
raw chicken, right?
We can only hope. Oh man, put some sass on that, please.
Know what I'm saying? I need something a little bit more than just like salt, pepper, butter. I need a little bit
Please,
more salt,
please,
pepper, butter.
yeah.
Like spice it up.
Throw,
It's
throw a little Old
cowboy.
Bay on there for me,
Right. It's
please,
Cowboy Bebop. I need you to reach into the back of the cabinet, pull out the mother jars.
please.
But all in all, like I did enjoy it. I enjoyed this. I would watch it again with someone if my wife decides she wants to watch it. I'm cool to sit with her and enjoy. But yeah, Cowboy Bebop, 2021 Netflix series. Looking forward to see what the future holds.
Yeah, yeah. Overall, I was pleasantly surprised. I would still, like I said, I would recommend it to anybody who has not seen Cowboy Bebop either in a while or at all. I think those are the two groups of people that are going to benefit most from this. I feel like any Cowboy Bebop anime fans were going to go into this not expecting this to be better.
And it's not.
It's
It's
not.
like it's because there again, the original anime that is the closest thing you have to what many would consider a perfect anime.
Yeah.
So the bar is so high for that show. That's why people are already getting up in arms about the One Piece live action. See exactly. See,
Boy.
that's my point.
Oh boy.
Because it's so iconic. Some
So
things don't need to be messed with. But that is a topic
yeah,
for
that's the
another
whole thing.
day.
That's the whole other thing.
I want to thank Will for getting on here with us and getting here on time. Next time we'll time it out a little bit better. See what's what.
My bad.
It's all good. It's all good.
That's all good. Yeah.
I want to thank David for being here with me to give us his thoughts, his feelings, his opinions on some anime stuff. I am Sam. We are Grown A Geeks. Make sure to hit the QR codes here where you can find out all the cool stuff that we do. We've got a YouTube channel. We hope that you like and subscribe to that so you can check out all our other videos. Plenty of reviews, plenty of content. We got some great sports stuff, movies, TV shows, video games, you name it. But that's it for us. We're going to thank you for watching this. Don't forget to click that like and subscribe. And we are out of here. Peace.